I hope that everything is good. You can hear me clearly. You can see me. All right. How's your Saturday night, guys? All right. So, welcome. Welcome. Today, I'm going to show you why many qualified applicants don't get hired, not because they lack skills, but because they don't know how to communicate those skills effectively. All right. So, by the way, let me introduce myself. I'm Coach Mitch. I have been an English coach for more than 18 years now. I do I did quality assurance and training before, teacher training before. I am also a learning and development specialist of Katropa English today. All right. And I'm happy to be here again. This is my second time to hold a webinar for Virtual Hive Academy. All right. So I currently train for VHA for VA in international client communication or interview. VA communication or VA interview communications. All right. So I've worked with professionals from different industries, and one thing remains true: communication often determines who gets hired. All right. So let me just share my screen. Hang on a second. All right. So again, everyone, hello. I'm happy that you're here. I hope that this will be something that is really useful for you, that you will find useful for yourself. All right, hang on. Let me share my screen. You can also join me. You can also type in your answer later. I'll be giving some questions so that I would know what's on your mind about this topic. Can you see my screen now? All right, I think. Okay, all right, there you go. So for tonight's webinar, it's going to be about interview communication strategies. I have a question for everyone before we start. You can type them in the comments section, all right? So this is my question. Have you ever tried? We can get back to it later, or you can chat, you can jot them down now, okay? So my first question is, have you ever wondered why some people still they already have the technical skills, they have the knowledge, they have all the skills they need for the job, but still fail an interview? Have you ever tried that kind of scenario? Wait a minute. Or does it ring a bell? Like you feel like after the interview, I knew the answer, but I don't know why I couldn't say it, or why I wasn't able to say it clearly, or I wasn't able to ace the interview. Even I knew the correct answer, or I knew what to say. Have you experienced this one? Okay, hang on a sec. I'm not sure why I can't see it. I hope you can see my. All right, so by the end of this webinar, you will possess a structured framework to transform your communication capability. So we're going to decode evaluation, understand what interviewers really want to know about you when they ask you questions. So the reasons behind every question. Speak with confidence, communicate with natural confidence, with absolute clarity and corporate professionalism. And also answer interview questions using organized, structured, and highly relevant responses. These three are very important. These three content pillars are the things that we're going to tackle tonight. Okay, now, why do you think communication determines success? Do you know that communication creates a lot of opportunities? Tell me an industry that doesn't require communication. Is there any businesses or any organization that doesn't require communication? So communication determines success and it creates a lot of opportunities. So if I were you from now on, it's not too late for you to upskill your communication skills. Start building your communication skills from now. Um, I have, it always comes across whenever I browse the social media, I usually see like sell me this pen, those things. And those things like marketing or salespeople usually do, right? Because sometimes despite having, for example, imagine this, even you have the best product in the world, but you don't know how to communicate the benefits of that, or you don't know how to convince people how badly they need the product, you won't sell it, right? Why? Because you need communication skills, right? That's how important communication skill is. Now, let's talk about the power of first impression. There's a saying that goes, first impression lasts. Do you agree, guys? Do you agree? I so agree with it. First impression, you have to start strong and also end strong. Right. But first impression, the 60-second rule really tells a lot about you. Before you even answer the first interview questions, they would already know. They would have the interviewers would have an immediate impression on your professionalism within the first minute. So it's beyond your resume. It's beyond the credentials that you have. Excuse me. All right. So it's about how you carry yourself, your professionalism, your confidence, your clarity, your organization, how you can relay and send your message across to the interviewer, right? So dynamic presence, your executive presence, it really matters a lot. Your visual posture, your eye contact, your warm vocal tone outweighs paper qualification, right? So it really is so crucial to have this good impression. Now, why highly qualified VAs still fail their job interviews? Why? Even they already have all the skills that they need for the job, which is sad, right? Why do they need to fail the interview? You can get your resume, your skills, your technical skills, your experiences at work can get you an interview. But communication skills can get the job or you can land a job. But it's better, of course. You cannot have only communication skills without the technical skills. Of course, I'm not saying that. It should be together. Right? I always tell this to my trainings. So I ask one of my, not one of my recent batch of trainees before, maybe in June, my June batch, I asked them, why do you think they have all the skills, but they still failed the interview? So I ask the reasons behind it. It could be any of this, or it's because, right, if you imagine yourself being on the shoe of the client, for example, you have the business. Are you going to hire someone who cannot express themselves clearly, who cannot organize their ideas well? How will they deal or how would they do professional communication with other people? Right? So are you going to entrust your business to someone who cannot explain what your services are, what your products are? Do you get what I mean? All right. So there. So they fail. It could be because of memorized scripts. Scripted. You sound very scripted, right? So they would feel like you're not naturally talking about what you experienced from the past job or from situations that they have for you. I mean, they have been asking you. So it should not be memorized. So I always tell my trainees not to be scripted, no memorizing. So I just give them some tools or some frameworks for them to use. All right. Vocal monotone, you sound robotic, it actually indicates disinterest or low confidence. It's either low confidence or maybe no energy, like not really. So this will make an impression to the interviewer like you're not interested in getting the job, right? So you should have an enthusiasm. Lack of engagement. So you feel like you're too nervous, you're busy being nervous because you feel like they're interrogating you, but actually it's not. You should treat interviews like a professional executive conversation. So you're just sharing your professional experiences and how you can help. This is what I usually tell my trainees. You have to be genuine and you have to offer your value. You have to let them realize your value, what value you can offer, and also you have to make sure that you are to help. You are there to help, not because you, of course, monetary, salary, those things, very basic. We really need that. But more than that, they would see if you're really into helping, if you are there to help them. They would see that in the interview. Now, the question is, how would I prepare myself for the interview? So you will not just be talking randomly, right? I tried interviewing English teachers before, so applying for the company before when I was working for a company. So I would know if a teacher is passionate about teaching. So they same as true with VA clients, with any kind of industry, recruiting or doing the interview. They want to see how you can help them. All right. Now we have here a framework that will help you. Maybe some of you know this framework already. It can be a cliche already, but it still does magic. It still works as magic. Like it can really help you, right? It makes you go away from scripting. I am scripted speech, right? Some of my students, I usually tell them, instead of saying star is more straightforward and more specific, you can also use CAR. CAR, which stands for C for challenge. So instead of problem, you say challenge, sounds more positive, and then action, and then result. So usually they will be giving situation, scenarios, behavioral questions, right? It's more than just your English skills. Okay, so it has something to do with your personality, your behavior, how you respond to different situation, how you solve problems, how clear you think, how good you organize your ideas, how good you relay your point, how clear you make your point, right? So challenge, action, and result. And always you should always end with a positive note or a reflection, what you learned from it. Usually interviewers will ask you this situation for a great purpose. So you have to read between the lines. When they ask you, tell me about yourself, they are not asking about a lot of your personal stuff. You don't need to tell them your biography, okay? Or in Tagalog, talambuhay. You don't need to tell them your talambuhay, right? What they need to know is the value that you can offer to them, the help that you can, give them. You don't need highfalutin words to be impressive, okay? So it's more on clarity over perfect English. Okay, all right. So there you can use car. So it's easier because you're busy thinking of your English. You're busy thinking of your point. So car would do, but star would make it even specific. So situation, task, action, result. For example, they would ask you a scenario, what would you do? Or have you experienced this kind of situation? What did you do? They are asking that for a reason. Now, later on, we'll be checking the reasons behind some of the most common interview questions that we usually have, that we usually encounter, right? And also, they are checking the attitude, how honest you can be. Do you know how they can check your honesty when you answer interview questions? If you're just speaking randomly and then you're making up answers, you're making up a story, but it's not really real. It's not real. They would know because of the inconsistencies. They would do follow-up questions until they catch you. So make sure not to make up a story. I always tell my trainees this: always be genuine, be honest. If you haven't experienced something, your answer can be based on observation or it can be a hypothetical one. Like, for example, this is just a very simple example, okay? Um, for example, the question is, have you tried making a big mistake that affected the whole process or the whole business, something like that? So this is a big issue, right? Don't be afraid to be honest, but make sure that you follow the framework. The result should always sound positive or reflective about what you learned from the situation. And the action, they will check how you solve the problem. Okay. Right. For example, that was the question. They would know if you're honest or just avoiding makeup answer or just making a story. So if, for example, you haven't experienced this kind of scenario yet, how would you answer? So instead of rambling, instead of freezing, instead of having mental blocks, base it from observation or use a hypothetical way of answering. You can say, honestly, I haven't experienced this kind of scenario. However, based from my observation in my previous job, something happened like this, blah, blah, blah. You can say that. Or if you haven't observed anything like that, you can say, if you can use hypothetical answer. You can say, if I would have, I honestly speaking, I haven't experienced this kind of scenario. However, if I would be in this kind of situation, I would. So you tell them what you would do because they want to see how you react, how you would solve a problem. So they have to see that, right? So they're checking your attitude, your behavior, your problem solving skills, everything that the resume will not tell them. Okay? So be transparent. It's okay if you don't know everything, right? Who's perfect here? Nobody's perfect, right? So don't mind about mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Maybe the level of mistakes is just different, right? As long as it's not a glaring grammar problem, it doesn't kill your clarity, it's okay, you're fine. As long as you can make it clear and convey it in an organized way. Okay? Accountability, they check how accountable you are, how you take ownership of the outcomes, whether it's successful or not. Initiative, if you're a solution. Every time, I always tell my trainees, when you go for an interview, it's not all about what you know. It's not all about your technical skills. It's not also all about your communication skills. One more thing, you need to know yourself well because sometimes they can, if you're, there would be moments that you will get an interview question that never crossed your mind or you didn't even reflect about yourself. They might ask you, for example, they might ask you a personality question that you haven't really thought of, right? So the tendency you will go mental block and then you miss the chance of showcasing your ability to solve issues or problem, right? So you can and it can also be a reason, one of the reasons why not why you won't be able to land a job, right? Or land a good job. So those things. So the clients, they look beyond. They really look beyond perfect English. They go beyond. They look beyond that. They see your personality, your behavior, your the way you carry yourself, a lot of things. And communication skills will help you do that and explain that to them. Okay? Initiative, of course. Always be a solution provider and professionalism. Like I told you earlier, before you even answer a first interview question, they would see how professional you are. The impression will already be there. So make sure you get to give them a good first impression. All right, there you go. Okay, so before we go to the next one, I hope that if you have questions, you can type them in. I'll try to check them one by one if I can, but I think I cannot see it now. I could go back to that later if you have some questions. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Now, after that, so it's confidence over linguistic perfection, right? So clients always hire confidence and clarity, not perfect English. But make sure, even it's not perfect English, make sure the grammar is not glaring to the point of, killing the clarity. All right. So we have to go away from that as well. Because, a lot of people would ask me, is grammar really very important? It is. If it doesn't affect your clarity, it's okay. That's my usual answer. Pronunciation. Is it that important? You don't need to have an accent like an American or like an Australian or whatever accent you want or Canadian. You don't need to have that. Important thing is it's what do you call this? Audible enough, intelligible, and it's just you just have to make sure that it doesn't confuse the listener. For example, a classic example that I usually say, like soup and soap, right? They have very similar vowel sounds. Soup and soap, right? If you use the wrong pronunciation of that, it could be confusing, right? So as long as it doesn't affect your clarity, it's okay. So that's the rule all the time. That's what I usually tell my trainees or my English students, English learners, English students. Yep. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide. Now, I told you earlier, it's also psychology, right? So there's a reason behind those questions that they ask you. So make sure you just don't answer it randomly. You have to intentionally answer it, the hidden meaning of each question. So if they ask you, tell me about yourself, what does it mean? What they are actually asking is, are you operationally ready? And are you good? Are you really a good personal cultural fit? So instead of just randomly talking about your biography, don't talk about your too much of your personal stuff here because it's not about you, okay? So discuss professional journey. Talk about your skills, the value that you can put on the table. All right? And then when they ask you, why should we hire you? So what's the hidden meaning? If they ask you that. If they ask you that, what does it mean? It means they're checking how good you solve, how quickly, how efficiently, how good you can solve operational bottlenecks, how if you are a critical thinker, if you're a problem solver. So a lot of people, sometimes it's really hard to answer this kind of question. So the best advice that I usually give is find the hidden meaning. Read between the lines. Be intentional in answering the questions, and you'll find your answer. So connect your key strengths directly to the problem mentioned in their job description. So why would they hire someone who doesn't exactly know what the role is, right? Of course, you have to align it with their job post as well, the role that they need. I mean, the post that you're applying for, right? That's part of it. And you have to that there communication skills will come in. How you would explain that? Let's say, for example, you're really good, you're techie, you can do a lot of things, right? But you can also communicate well. Wow, you're going to be very successful if you can do both, right? So it should not be a hindrance for you to showcase your talents, your skills. Yes. Okay. Right. Next, how do you handle pressure? Why are they asking this? Why are they asking this? So, do you collapse or communicate when a crisis hits? They're checking. How good. So you have to provide a story, like an evidence, showing how you prioritize tasks, how you organize calendars, how you manage expectations, and so on. All right, now, what modern global clients prioritize during live virtual assessment interviews? Do you agree, guys? I need you to check on this one. Wait a minute. All right, I need you to check on this chart, guys. What do you think? Do you agree? So communication clarity, it's 95%. And then proactive resourcefulness is 90%. Accountability and integrity, it's 85%. And technical tool knowledge is 70%. Wow. Technical tools actually can easily be taught on the job, right? You can get the hang of it. You can, practice doing it. It's something that you can really um, learn, right? But professional presence, accountability, and clarity of thought cannot. It's not that easy to be learned. So you can start now and enroll in my VA client interview training. Right. I'm sure that it's going to be worth it. All right. I would do my best to help you prepare for the next interview. Yeah. All right. So, um so here, I hope you agree with me on this chart. All right. So communication clarity, like I told you earlier, whatever industry it is, communication clarity is really a part, a crucial part of it, right? Um, the most successful businessmen, right? Of course, they're genius. They are really good. The tycoons, the business tycoons like Steve Jobs, right? And a lot of them, Bill Gates, right? They all have good communication skills because they have brilliant ideas, but they were able to communicate that across to their market. That's why. So if you have both, wow, right? So it's good. Right. So there. Mm, we have to always decode the question when we go to the interview for you to have communication clarity. So you would know the hidden meaning of every interview questions. Mm. For example, what else? Hang on. Um, so technical skills, yeah, like I told you earlier, technical skills is not that easy to learn, actually, not all, right? Not that easy, not an overnight thing that we can learn as well. But still, I'm not saying that it's not that not it's that easy, okay, as well. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, but yeah, both. Have both. Now, um, next slide. I don't know if you can see. Can you see it, guys? Now let's talk about the critical mistakes to avoid. When you go for an interview, you have to make sure that you don't get any verbal pitfalls and attitude errors, right? So for verbal mistakes, usually when you speak too fast or when you speak too slowly, what does it mean? Your speaking pace really matters. Because when you speak too fast or even too slowly, it can also determine your confidence level. If you're reading memorized scripts, or because it's a virtual interview most of the time, right? For VA interviews, they would know if it's a scripted one. If you're giving one word answers, do you think they would be happy to give you follow-up questions? Right? So we have to avoid this verbal pitfalls. Attitude mistakes. I came across this very nice saying about attitude. It says, if I can remember it correctly, um, something like uh, I forgot the exact words, but let me just rephrase it or paraphrase it in my own words. Something like hire for. Let me just hire for. Hmm. This is very important. A lot of HRs, I think they usually have this: hire for character, train for skills. Hire for characters, hire for character, train for skill. What does it mean? Hire character, train skill. What does it mean by this? I hope I have someone who can answer me back. All right, but anyway, hire for character, train for skills. You can teach most skills. Tell me, you can teach most skills, but you cannot teach character. Do you agree, guys? So you hire for character. Is they interview questions would always have this: can I hire him? Is he or she trainable, coachable? Right? If you're humble enough to be trained, you're not going to be a know-it-all, right? So you hire for character, you can train the skills all the time. All right. So this is the thing that you have to take note of when you go for an interview, whatever interview you go to. But for VAs, this is one, right, of the attitude errors, mistakes that um, we should go away from. Okay. You should also avoid negative comments. You should not complain about previous employers, I mean, right? It would actually reflect your character. You should not be interrupting. You should you should do active listening, not passive listening. But some people would be very nervous, right? Would be very busy being nervous. So sometimes they don't catch the question. Maybe that would be forgivable, but you have to make sure you handle your nervousness, that you can still understand and do active listening. Okay? Stop interrupting the client or answering before you really fully understand the question. And the last one is failing to ask questions. Have you encountered interviewers asking you, Do you have questions for me? They usually ask that, right? Why do you think they ask this? Type it down if you have an idea about this. Type it down, guys, and we'll check them later. Yeah. All right. So they usually ask you whenever, in my case, speaking through experience, guys, every time I am asked by interviewers this question, like, do you have any questions for me after I answer all the interview questions? And then I would ask them, what is a successful blah blah? So blah blah, like the position you're applying for example. What is for example, VA, what is a successful executive virtual assistant is for you? I actually asked this, um, if I can, if my memory serves me right, the last interview where I asked this was taken aback. She was not expecting me to ask this question. But why? It will challenge them. It will if you ask them this question, they would feel like, oh, he is really into this role. They really want to, she really want to have this job. She really wants to know how she can be successful in this kind of role, something like that. Try it in your next interview, guys. It works. It works. Okay. All right. So there you go. So always finish. And on the, this is an important note that I have to give you. Always finish your interview with thoughtful questions, because it demonstrates curiosity and professionalism. Aside from asking that, you can also ask something that would, make them feel like you're really into it, and you're really into the job. You're really into helping them. But don't ask them about the salary unless they ask for it. Okay, it's a little bit, I don't know. It would depend on you, but this is what I'm telling you. Demonstrate curiosity. Ask a question that will demonstrate curiosity and professionalism. And a thoughtful question, of course. Okay? All right. So there you go. I think, hmm, I think this would be the last of the slide. If you have any questions, all right. So I have 3 key takeaways for you before I entertain any questions if you have one or if you have some. Um, what was that? So remember this, an interview, a job interview is not an English exam, okay? Your interview is more than a test of your English. It is a demonstration of your professionalism, confidence, and ability to communicate effectively. Every interview is a professional partnership conversation. Treat it like an executive conversation. All right. So, yep. All right. So, I have 3 key takeaways for you before I accommodate some questions. All right. So, the first one is communication creates first impression. Okay. So, the 60-minute rule, the first impression. And then communication creates first impression as well. It's part of it after you answer the questions. Second, confidence is more important than perfect English. They would not remember how perfect your grammar is, how highfalutin your words are when you answer interview questions. They would remember how confident you are in handling questions, how clear and organized you were in answering. And number 3, use a structure. It will guide you. You can use star, SAR, or PAR. Never answer randomly. Okay? So remember this. Remember this one that is flashed here. It's more than just your English test. Okay? Thank you for your time today. I hope this webinar has given you practical strategies that you can apply in your very next interview. Now, I'd be happy to answer your questions if you have some. Right. Let me try to open my Facebook so I can see if there would be any questions. You can type them in. the comment section, guys. My next training for VA client interview training would be September. In September, and I hope to see you guys there. And check out Virtual Hive website. We have Virtual Hive Academy website, a new one, all new website. Is really nice. It's very comprehensive. You can see all the courses there that you can benefit from. Please feel free to visit our website. All right, so let me just check if you have any questions. I got some. I don't know why. I have some, what do you call this? Angry icon and laugh icon here. I'm not sure why. Let me check why. You can type in your questions or, yeah, there, if you have any. I don't see any. Why? Questions. You can type in your questions or, yeah, there, if you have any. I don't see any. Why? Questions. You can type in your questions or, all right, yeah, hang on, there. Okay, I don't see any questions there. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Any questions? Any reactions? I don't know why I got some. What's that? I will not be name dropping, but I don't know why this one. All right, I'll be waiting for your questions. If you have one, guys, I'll just be here waiting for your questions or anything that, any experience you want to share with us about your client interview or onboarding experiences before, or if you're a new or an aspiring VA and have tried some interviews. And if you ace an interview and the like, yeah, feel free to share it with us. Hello again, 57 viewers on Facebook, 57 million. Hello, hello. Nice to meet you guys. And hello, YouTube audience as well. Feel free to jot down any questions you have in mind. I hope that you will land a good client soon. If you're an aspiring VA, yeah, feel free to join us, join the trainings to help you prepare for your VA journey. Virtual Hive Academy is here to help you out with this journey. By the way, I also have Katropa English today. You can also follow us for practical English content that can benefit you from improving and that can benefit you in improving your communication skills in English. All right. I think there's no question. There are no questions. Since we still have a few minutes, maybe we can look back on the employer evaluation priorities. Place yourself in the shoe of a client. So if you are a client and you're looking for a VA or you're looking for an employee, for your business, which one would you consider first among all of these four categories? Sometimes I hire teacher for Katropa as well. So what I do, I usually check, like I told you earlier, hire for character, train for skills. Someone should be coachable, right? Because if not, it's really hard. Okay, so but the first thing is communication clarity, whatever industry it is. Problem solving, proactive resourcefulness, it includes problem solving and so on. Okay, accountability. Yes. Someone who will not pinpoint and blame other people about something, right? Whatever the result is, we have to be, we have to take full responsibility of it, right? Okay. All right, there. I think that is all for now. Let me check. Let me check. So September is the next batch for the VA client interview training. I hope to see you guys there. If you have any questions, we have the link here in the on Facebook. You can check the link there. It's attached, and feel free to visit the website, visit the page on Facebook as well. All right, so I think there are no more questions. I think that would be all for tonight. Thank you for joining me again. And Virtual Hive Academy, on behalf of Virtual Hive Academy, thank you for gracing with us. Thank you for your time. And I hope you were able to, get something from the webinar, from the free webinar about interview communication strategies. All right, I think that would be all. No more question. Calling once, calling twice. I ended early. How about I ask you a question and then let me know how you can, and I want to see how you would answer it. If you would like, you can share the question. Come on. Okay, all right. If not, if you're not up for it, okay, that's okay. That's all right. Okay, so let me just when you visit the website, you can see all the courses. We have master class as well for one-on-one. We have also strategy. Hang on, let me just double check everything here. So visit our page on Facebook. You can also check the website. You can see all the courses offered. We also have, you can also book a strategy consultation. It's a 30-minute one-on-one session focused on your goals and real solutions, like meta ads, if you want to be coached personally, all right, on meta ads, funnel designs, web designs, digital marketing, SMM, and SEO. Yeah, you can visit the website on virtualhiveacademy.com. All right, so if you're struggling with this stuff and you need help, we are here to help you. All right, just feel free to visit our website. And also the website, you can see all new website that we just had. We just launched, okay? And you can also see a lot of courses. We have QB. So I'll just take the chance to promote the courses that we can offer you that can help you. Big deal, big time in your VA journey. We also have, of course, VA training. You will learn a lot of things in VA training. I think we're all already going for batch 13. Yes. batch 13, I believe. We're still updating. So in any case, you visit the website. Um, we are still updating the website for any issues on navigation. Just let us know. Okay. Yes. All right. So we also have GHL. This is a really in demand course as well, right? Why the GHL training and the QuickBooks. Yep. There. So Virtual Hub Academy have rosters of coaches who are really expert at their craft that who can really help you with your VA journey. All right. So if you don't have further questions, all right. So I hope to see you again. This is Coach Mitch. I hope to see you in the next training of VA in, inter, VA client interview training. It will be in September, sometime in September. All right. So just visit our page on Facebook and our website. Thank you for your time, guys, and have a good night.